we are like
The
in
same.
costume. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, Robin, welcome back for a second talk with me. My name is Alfonso on behalf of the Mexican blog Retumba. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me again. It's an honor.
No, the honor is mine. How are you doing tonight? Is late over there with you?
Oh, it's well, it's night. It's 8 p.m.
Okay,
It's
it's night already.
I don't know if you can see, but it's windy.
Oh, yeah, it's
Yes.
getting dark.
Yes. Yes. Very much so.
Well, of course, the reason I invited you today here is to discuss your new album, A Chaos of Flowers.
Hmm.
But well, we will get into that later. 1 minute. I want to ask you because last time you were about well the band was about coming to Mexico for the first time to play
Hmm.
two shows,
Hmm.
and I want to ask you how was the experience for the band? How did you
It was,
remember?
yeah, it was really, really special. I
Oh,
think we were, yeah, it was very special. We were really, we were so excited. Everywhere we went, all of the, um, um, it didn't, I mean, honestly, we were just like walking down the streets and we were like, we couldn't believe it. Um, Mexico City is gorgeous. We were in Guadalajara, I think that was right.
yeah.
And yeah, I remember it's like a nice, quiet town, and it's still gorgeous. Everyone we met from the festival in Guadalajara, and from the show in Mexico City were it was just so nice. Everyone was so nice, and also I don't think I've ever had such good. I'm no, I've had good food before. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, fuck, like everything we ate, we
Oh,
couldn't believe we got we were eating this. It was just like every bite I took, I'm like, what? It's just like such a all of us. We were just so happy. And yeah, it was really fun, and it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous down there.
are you or the band good with spicy food?
Yes, we all are good with spicy foods.
Okay, okay, because I imagine you were offered some spicy food here.
Oh yes, yeah, and we always get hot sauce.
Okay,
travel with hot sauce,
nice.
so yeah, yeah,
Have you watched the show YouTube show Hot Ones? Perhaps.
yeah. We just watched an episode of it just earlier. Yeah.
What was it? The one with Conan O'Brien?
Yes.
Ah, so funny.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't expect to laugh because I don't like Conan O'Brien really at
Okay.
all. Um,
It's too silly for your humor.
well, no, no, like I just don't like him, but he was
Okay.
hilarious. He was so funny in it. I laughed so hard. I even had to look away because it was so disgusting, but he did such a good job. I was like, "Okay, okay. I get why people think you're funny."
Yeah, he puts on a show.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have like a favorite episode of that show
Of the hot
or
one,
guests?
um, oh god, I wish I can remember. There's one with, she's from SNL.
Mm,
Uh, oh, what's her name? Maya Rudolph.
Maya Rudolph, right, right.
And, I liked her because, at the end, she was just, like, yelling and swearing at the guy, being like, "What the fuck are you?" But, like, as a joke, it was really, really funny.
Yeah, there
And I
was like an sketch prior to that, no? Right, like an
yeah,
SNL sketch. She
yeah.
doing Beyonce.
Yes, 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 yes. And I
Yeah,
really liked, who else did I like? There's so many, I don't remember.
for me, Paul Rudd.
I was gonna say Paul Rudd. The one
Yeah.
where he does with the butt in the
Ah, yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, 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 yeah. I was gonna say him, but every time I mention, that I like Paul Rudd to people, they're like, "What? Why?" And I'm like, "But he's so nice."
Yeah.
And
She
he's
seems
funny.
nice. He seems
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
That that one, and also the one with Key and Peele.
They both did one together?
Yeah, earlier in the show in past
I
seasons.
didn't see that one. Oh, I should look it up. I'll look it up
Mm,
after.
yeah. Well, okay. I'm glad to hear that you and the band had a good experience here in Mexico.
Yes,
I
yes.
unfortunately couldn't make it. The commute to one of the shows was, very long.
Right, yeah.
And if I remember right, there were like two sort of audiences. One was like in the park,
Yes.
in daylight, and the other one was like a more private show or
Yeah, it
some.
was like at a venue, like a
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. It was fun and it was upstairs and it was the bands we played with were amazing and I don't know, they really took care of us and even the next day um uh like the next 2 days Gabo and his partner, uh, they took us. They were like full tourist guide. They're just like, come, 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 and we were like, you really don't have to. We took the day off for you. Like, let's do this right. And I'm like, that's so nice. So yeah, we felt like spoiled. It was so
Mm.
nice. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that you have some nice memories from the country.
Oh yeah, we want to come back as soon as possible. It's gonna
So.
be so hard to leave again though, but I don't wanna leave.
Well, now about the new album, I remember that we briefly discussed. You briefly talk about the process of. I mean, by then, it was already like finished or being recorded. I don't have the.
We were about to record it,
Okay,
I think.
okay, okay, right, right.
We didn't record it yet.
Well, it is a fascinating album,
Oh, you
fascinating
like it?
work. Oh, I have to tell you, it's my favorite one from the band right now.
Really?
Oh,
Oh,
yes,
Alfonso, that's so
yes,
nice.
yes. Um, what's funny in my experience. So every blog at the end of the year does like the best of top artist list, right? So I
Mhm,
did mine,
mhm.
but I didn't do like a list. I do like 5 categories. So
Yes.
in each category, I will add 3 or 5, I don't know, records. But
Yeah.
of course, Night of Mocht is among my favorites. But
Ah,
I didn't know where to place that record. Like for me, it didn't fit in any of the other categories.
yeah.
So I created a special one.
You
I'm an architect, and I have like this romanticized relation with the spaces.
okay.
Textures,
Yeah,
angles,
yeah,
geometry.
yeah.
And
Okay.
I created one category that I called poetics of space. You know,
Oh, wow, yeah.
for me, it's very poetic, your sound, and perhaps I describe it, or I try to describe it for you last time. And
I think you did. Yeah.
well, it's funny now that this new album, it has to do very much with poetry, right? With poems
Yes.
that you encounter.
Yes. So I was like with the last record with Nature Morte, we came to like a resting place for our exploration um, of of loudness and intensity and tension, et cetera, et cetera. And we felt like we came to this resting place because um, we felt like we, for now, how do I say, pushed ourselves. No, sorry, I'm so easily distracted.
I
We
remember that.
yeah, oh yeah. um, we came okay, we felt like we experimented in the fullest capacity to date for loudness and um and sort of like heavy sonic, in your face loud sort of simplicity. um so we wanted to press pause on that exploration, because we're like, we're good now. And then what ended up happening was, because of our collaboration with the body, the the yeah, we realized that, especially after Vital and then Nature Morte, we're just like, we've arrived at a really good place where we can press pause and do something a little bit different, which was, we wanted to like write a quiet album, which it's not quiet, it's just more melodic, and I do actual singing instead of yelling, and 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 we have note changes, like in Nature Morte we had like a couple of note changes here and there, but it not nearly as much as A Chaos of Flowers, and not nearly as much as the collaboration we did with the body. And so I wanted to, with regards to the lyrics, I wanted to re-explore, um, the old folk songs again. And as I was going back into it and diving into it, I realized, like, actually, no, I like what we did with the body. I don't need to or want to explore that right now.
Mhm.
So um, I decided to see what I could do with poetry. I was looking for poetry that was in the public domain, which that we can use without needing to like buy a license, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Yeah. And it turned out that all of the poems that were like for anyone to use were written by just like old white men. And I'm not a white man.
Right.
So I don't have it. Like, maybe certain emotions I might be able to relate to, but for the most part, I didn't I couldn't really relate, and it got me curious as to where are the people of color and the women, and and at least for our like Western culture's history of poetry, where are they? And there are few and far between. There aren't very many that have been published from way back. And so then I ended up just going into a deep dive, like uh, researching poetry and poets and remembering other poets that I had forgotten about. Because poetry isn't something that a lot of people read or research are unless they study literature, or unless they are like a super fan of writing. It's like opera, where
Mm.
it's an acquired taste. It's not everyone gets it. And I've always loved poetry, and so I kind of just took it from there. And then I noticed that a lot of these women from the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s, even from way before, even though we might be very different demographically, like um, there are a lot of things that I relate to them as a person. Like there's a couple that are a couple of the poets that are mixed race. Um, there's two. There's a lesbian, and then there's a queer poet, and 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 they all are female presenting, and there's just this transcendental um, experience that spans across time and across
Mm.
cultures, which I found really interesting. And so I
So
kind of,
you felt discovered perhaps a connection that you
yeah,
weren't necessarily looking for.
exactly. Yeah,
Well, in my perspective, poesy, nature, it has to do very much with like the feminine side, you know.
yeah,
Nature, the previous record, Nature Mocked, I mean, it's like the premise is very feminine,
yes,
if I
yes,
may say.
yeah. No,
And
absolutely.
and well, I don't know if you're familiar with the poems of Alfonsina Storni
No, I
from
need to.
Argentina.
Um, can you write it in the chat? I want
Yeah,
to.
of course. It's actually my name, but female name,
Alfonsina.
Alfonsina
Alfonsina.
Storni.
Store. Was it
Yeah, Storni.
Estorni?
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
If you could bring back or talk to one of the poets you investigate or about this record, which one would you choose to talk to, have a conversation?
Oh my god, that's a good question. Oh shit. That's a hard question to answer because I love them all and they all stand for amazing things. Um
I
as
mean,
different as it
you can weigh your choices. I'm here to listen to you.
is. I think fuck. This is hard. This is a hard question to answer. I think the first one I would actually want to uh talk to, the one I'm more interested about because there's not a lot of information about her available, is Pauline Johnson, who is Canadian and half Mohawk and half white. Um, um, and the little we do know of her history is that she commodifies her identity. So
Mm,
she, had never been married, had to make her own way through life, so support herself. She used what she had to sustain her life. And that takes a lot of fucking courage and a lot of strength because she got a lot of criticism for it. Um, and then, especially because something that I relate to very deeply is um, people, her her biggest critics would say that she's not, and it was usually white people, it's always white
mm,
people, but they would say that she's not technically indigenous, so she has no right calling herself indigenous, even though she's
wow.
like, you know, um, the fact that she's commodifying her identity is considered exploitation, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, that's to each their own. Like, that, if you think that is like exploiting yourself or objectifying yourself, then that's the same thing you would say about dancers, um, like strippers or entertainers or sex workers. It's you're using what you have and the skills that you have. There's no shame. It's uh if anything, we should champion that because it's so hard to do, because it makes you so vulnerable to criticism and hate. And so I relate to not being, like I'm half white, half East Asian, and I'm not East Asian enough, but I'm not
Mm,
white, but I'm not brown, and but I am a person of color, even though I'm half white. So it's just, and this is not me calling myself this. This is
okay.
other people calling me this. So it's something that I relate to greatly. I think it would be her first and foremost, for sure.
Now, well, I mentioned that this record is my favorite because I am fascinated by the the tone of the work. Of course, I always like your music, and but this record is at times irrational,
Mm.
and I think the album name is very fitting. A chaos of flowers, like two elements, chaos, flowers.
Mhm.
Flowers has to be the beauty of your voice. I
Oh.
I have a crush on your voice,
Oh,
respectfully.
thank
Your singing is great,
you.
and the chaos, of course, is the music, right?
Thank you.
The chaos
Yeah.
is music, like very at times like alien sounding, very dehumanizing. I don't
Mhm.
know if that's a proper term,
Yeah.
but well, the way I want to start approaching this record is by observing the similarities between the two artworks, right? Black
Yes.
and white.
Yes.
That was deliberately
Yes.
deliberate, right?
Yes.
What can you tell me?
Yeah. So, it's before we even knew what we were doing when we started writing and recording in Chaos of Flowers. Uh, the we actually I was developing the lyrical concept first before we even started writing the music. Um, and so Mathieu, uh, uh, because he is constantly thinking about um, art and music and just absorbing everything all the time. He immediately started thinking about the album art,
Mm,
and yeah, like this was like at just before we started writing. Like we didn't even really have any music at all. I think maybe Matsur was in the jam space and the practice space and like was doing a couple of things. Um, but yeah, we were just talking first and before we even started writing the music, and he was coming up with with these ideas and had uh, we have this philosophy to never say no to an idea and to try it out
first.
first, because even though you might not like the idea and it doesn't work out, um, more often than not, there's like happy accidents, and that it inspires something else that'll inspire something else. And like next thing you know, we have this beautiful freaking album art, and it made a lot of sense too because conceptually, lyrically, the lyrical concept, ugh, conceptually, the lyrics made sense as like a sibling record to Nature Morte.
Okay.
So they're kind of like siblings. Nature Morte is the cause, and a chaos of flowers is the effect. So, like you said, Nature Morte, it has to do with femininity, um, the subjugation of feminine in all its pluralities. So, not just nature, but women as well. And then, of course, any culture that isn't a colonial culture, or colonialists or whatever. And so so Nature Morte was a reflection on what was happening at the time, my observations, and all the information that I gathered from reputable news sources, and also my close friends and their friends. And I just kind of noticed this again. Not to be really cheesy, or like a lot of people talk about the patriarchy and capitalism, but this is what's happening because of patriarchy and the capitalism. And then so then a chaos of flowers is the effects of this. So
Mm.
um mental turmoil, like mental collapse, mental illness, suicidal ideations, um, deep hurt, deep grief, deep sadness. And in moments, of course, there are moments of beauty, but um, it just kind of fully represented. A chaos of flowers represents just, yeah, the effects of the internal effects. Like, we each have a whole universe
Mhm.
inside ourselves, um and no one knows what's going on with each other unless you talk about it with your close friends or people you trust or your therapists. And I think a lot of Western cultures are, especially like freaking North America, we're so depressed. We're so sad. Like in Canada and the States, holy shit. Um, and that's not healthy. One of like the first things that I learned in cultural anthropology in university is, when you can't judge a culture, but if you do judge a culture, judge it by how happy the people are.
Mhm.
And how do you judge that? Look at the suicide rates, look at the crime rates, look at all of that. And that can tell you something small.
So, so if the rates are high, people are not happy.
Exactly. And
I
and people need to look at that. Like, why aren't we happy?
so this album starts, well, the idea or the spark of this album starts by like disheartening reality of
Mhm,
the modern society.
mhm,
So I'm sensing that the first song kind of sets that tone,
mhm,
like intentionally.
mhm, mhm,
For me, it reminds me that song, the first one on the album, which was also your first single, right?
mhm.
Um, Reminds me of the late composer Johnny Cash, the late
Yeah.
song
Oh, yeah.
Heart, you know.
Yeah. Mhm,
I I don't know if that was intentional or not, but of course has this like dark folk tone in the music. And well, for me, this is an album about thriving beauty. You know, perhaps it's about the fighting spirit, the will
mhm,
to live, the will to be happy.
mhm,
Of course, you don't start with that as a point of view, but
mhm.
it has to be the outcome, right? It has to be like the well, not the outcome, but like the potentially goal. That
Yes.
if that is correct.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely. Yeah. Because if otherwise, like, there's nothing, like, yes, of course we do. Like, we have to survive. We have to live. Um and we're doing our best.
Mhm.
I think we are doing our best to survive. I don't think we're doing our best with regards to how we treat each other. I think we suck at
but
treating
but
each other well.
but
But
perhaps it's a natural reflection of that. Like we have to take care of ourselves first, and we have no
yes,
um what empathy for each other. Like we
yes,
have. so little of that.
We really do. We really have no. You're absolutely right. I agree. We don't have very much empathy um, for the general population. We have empathy for very specific things and
Right.
very specific situations. But when it comes to neighbors, when it comes to strangers on the street that you pass every day, when it comes to waiting in line, when it comes to like just the everyday things,
Yeah.
we're really shitty. And then also like we're also terrible anyway because look at what's happening in fucking Gaza and but I mean war is not new.
Right.
Uh, it's not new. It's just now we get to see live. We get
Uh,
to see
and
it live.
and we get to be more cynical about it because
Yeah.
we are aware of all these things that happens in the world, and you can either choose one side or try to be like uh, rational about it,
Yeah.
but either way you try to be rational, you're either this way or that way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
well, I don't agree with that. I like to think of myself that I'm a good person, good rational person. I try to, at least.
Yeah.
um Another thing that this record is, well, what I was hoping to ask you and hoping to get like the correct pronunciation or the correct words for it.
Mhm.
The thing is very mysterious. It's very hard to put my finger in what I like about it, because the music itself is very deconstructive, if that's you know
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't know if you are aware of the press that Stephanie sent about the album, the
Well,
words, the text that Stephanie sent for the
yeah,
press.
the press release?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I mean, I don't know who wrote the press, but it is right spot on, with the words.
Yeah.
And so, like, the job is already done. And for us, we have to try to find the words, try
Yeah.
to find our interpretation of it. The
Yeah.
other day, I was talking with my friends from the blog, Lucy and Dylan, about this record, and well, there's this expression in in Spanish, like no esperaba menos, like I couldn't expect any less from them. And I made this joke because, well, they give you less. No, for me this is like right. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a more minimal record. Like this, the expression "less is more"
Yeah.
is perfectly fitted here for this record. And I didn't anticipate that the band would deconstruct their sound, your sound, like this. And I don't know where to begin to analyze. I don't know where to begin to describe it.
Yeah.
Um, but what I'm intrigued about it is the process to approach these songs. Like,
Mhm.
there
Mhm.
has to be a degree of spontaneity and
Yes.
intuition,
Yes.
and like I'm wondering if the bones, the skeleton of these songs are your voice, the lyrics, and then everything dances around that.
Interesting. It's okay. Right. So, um, what we ended up doing was um, we left a lot of the writing to when was ugh, uh, we wrote the skeletons of each song before we recorded, and then we finished writing while we were recording, and
Mm.
we had
So you left some room for changes
yes,
or
and experimentation, and
experimentation.
like you said, intuition. um, we had some skeleton, and we had some meat, some muscle
Mm,
here and there, but when it came to the blood and guts and the skin and the details, that was refined when we were recording. And um, what ends up happening is the music starts. We start with the music, but we
okay.
can't finish the music without the lyrics.
Mm,
So we start with the music, the melody might come in. No, the melody usually comes in, and the lyrics are the absolute last thing.
wow.
Yeah,
But you
but
have like the melodies in your head, perhaps.
yes, yes, yeah.
Okay.
All of the melodies in my head, but then even the melodies end up changing once I
Mm,
do the vocals. And then when I do the vocals, that's it. There's no changing it. And unless I have to change certain things. But the lyrics are being written throughout the entire process, though.
okay.
They're just only finalized sometimes to most of the time to at the very last minute from right before I'm singing, um, because a lot of it is sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it turns out that uh, a lot of the happy accidents or the experimentation with melody and lyrics and cadence and stuff like this uh, tends to really come alive when we're recording. Is with Seth. He
Mm,
really does a fantastic job, and we're so comfortable with him too that we can try those ideas, scratch them, have stupid ideas that end up working, but
mm.
there's like no, like it's fine. And like, yeah, we might argue because we're like passionate, but it's all for the to push ourselves to make the best thing that we can with what we have, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I remember now that you partially described these things about experimented with the process, with like
Yes.
the yeah. And well, I think the band did a fantastic job, honestly.
Oh, Alfonso, thank you.
And back to my description.
Yes.
Previously, I thought of the band of being special because of how the the space is filled with the listener interpretation. You give us like plenty of space to use our imagination. And
Yes.
what I mean by the poetics of space is exactly that, how imagination fills a space with spirit and meaning, and reciprocally how the space evokes feeling, memory, fantasy, to the occupant of that experience.
Yeah.
And this record provides exactly that in a way that I rarely encounter, or rarely the music gives the opportunity to the listener.
Oh, wow.
And I think that is what is special about this record. I don't know if
That's
you have received some commentary or feedback about it.
I mean, we have, but nothing is quite lovely as what you just said, because
Thank you,
that's
thank you.
that's actually, that's that's what I can only hope for. Um, um, you know, because having gone to art school, everything was about concepts and how the person receiving the art, what they might feel, what they might think, if you can provoke them to feel and think something, even if it's pure hate,
Mm,
even if it's just like, this is disgust, you're doing your job. If if people are like, well, I don't know, then it's a sad moment for that piece, because it means that it's not because that's what art is
It's
supposed to do.
it's not moving. It's like it could be perceived as empty of intention.
Exactly, exactly, and it's like it even if it doesn't have an intellectual impact, because sometimes, most of the time, I find art can be void of especially visual art, can be void of emotion unless it's about something very specific. Um, it's quite intellectual, which is fine and interesting too, but,
Uh,
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 what were we talking about?
well, we can continue on another
Okay.
topic. No worries. I also want to talk about the self-control, restraint,
Uh-huh.
uh, for the guitarist, or well, even more the drummer.
It's really funny because when we were writing, because like the writing process involves like Matt's here because his brain doesn't stop and he just like goes and he does. So he spent so much time in the jam space just like being like, oh maybe this, oh maybe this, oh maybe this, da, 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 and then he'd show me and I'm like, oh cool, and it could be just like it could be like a couple of notes or like a full part um or even just like an interesting gorgeous thing that he does on the guitar because everything he does is gorgeous, it's crazy. But and then I usually come in and then we ping pong off of each other and we try our best to like work um um on as much as we can together. And as we were before Tussie came in, there were a lot of things that were happening. Like the same thing with Nature Morte too. Like we were just like we have to fight. Like hopefully Tussie doesn't get bored because we're kind of like I think it just made sense to have very very minimal drums and very very minimal percussion. And when we presented the little that we had with Tussie, um, she was just like, "Yep, no, 1000%." And like, and then of course brought her musical genius into it too, and and then so then while we were recording, because a lot of it again was just like bare bones, maybe a little bit of meat, and maybe some like form,
Mm.
general idea, kept it loose, little bit of structure, but and then yeah, so when we were recording, it was just we were all kind of like, wait, yeah, actually no drums or a little bit of drums. And Tussie was like it just ended up being that way. But we have a funny story about the drums when we were recording, um, because a lot of it was just like some percussion stuff. We didn't set up the drums at all until the one of the last days of recording the percussion and drum parts.
Mm.
Um, um, yeah, I think it might have even been the last day. I don't remember, but it took like 2 hours to set up the drums because of miking and testing and getting all of the sounds right. Um, and then Tessie, because she's a genius, does one take of drums that isn't even a drum part. That lasts, I don't know how long that part lasts on the last song, like 2 minutes or something. I don't even know. One take. Listen back. She was like, and we were all kind of like, I think you're good.
Yeah.
And then we
Wow.
had to take like another hour to take it all down just for that
Well,
little.
I want to say bravo to
Oh,
because it's equally impressive, to have that self control, the authority to give the right pulsation, no more, no less.
yeah.
Well, even less. even you know,
even way less. Because
even
like
way
as
less.
we're practicing these songs to go on tour, because we recorded and we were still doing tours for Nature Morte when we were done recording. Um, and we're like, we're gonna practice the songs before we go on tour for the album. So this last month we had to learn the songs because we also finished the songs when we were recording, and so we never actually went through a full song together at the same time.
Okay.
Um, so um, as we were practicing, like Tussie just ends up sitting there, just kind of like this, like. You're like, oh, I got worried. I'm like, oh no, I hope you're not bored. But um, but she actually has a lot to do though because there are a lot of textures and tones and because there's actual piano on this record and there's like the moog on this record uh so there's a lot of things that we can't replicate just with the two guitars. We
Mhm.
can do a lot with the two guitars, but and yeah, we can definitely fill up that space and make it interesting, but we want it to be true as no, not as true as possible, but the
As needed.
as needed for the live performance because
Mm.
sometimes it won't sound good live and so parts change and it changes and we like to change it so we can have a good live set for people to enjoy and not just play everything exactly the same way. Um, um, and so yeah, so Tessie has a bunch of other buttons to press. So
Well,
she actually, yeah, yeah,
that's exactly the geniuses of this record or your work. It's exceptional because I'm listening and I'm waiting for some crash at the tom, and I like this is it, this is it, this is the no, it never arrives.
yep,
It gives you that sort of anxiety.
yep, yes, yeah. It's this is the record. A lot of what we did with this record is something I've wanted to well something that Sarah and I have been wanting to do since our first self-released record, Feral Verger, like ages ago. Um, just with regards to tension and because there's no release in the songs. It's all
Mm.
just like oh 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 and it feels like it's building but it's not really building and there might be a part that comes that's like oh it's gonna crash it's all gonna and we're gonna have that catharsis and that release and it doesn't ever come and it's something that like is hard to do. It's really hard to do because naturally you want some kind of flow but here we're just like whoa. And then it just stays there, which which lends well to the concept of the album though.
Like at some point it gives you not any type of orientation, no north, no south. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You are
Yeah.
just like in an empty space,
Yes.
but the somber tone remains. Your voice appears, and it starts taking shape, form again. What I perceived in my mind of this record is if I could, maybe you have seen something like this before, this like a portrait on a camera on a face, and it's been lighting from different angles, and the
Mhm.
shape of the face changed, right?
Yes. Yes, I've seen that before.
This is what I imagine of this record. Like
Oh,
there's some weird object, but throughout the movements of each song, like the lightning, the shadows changed,
yeah.
and the mood of the record changed. Of course, the songs are very different from one to another,
Yeah.
but this abstract object that represents the record.
Hmm.
And you were talking about studying art, and
Hmm.
sometimes like this abstract thing is like the goal, like
Yes.
subtract this concept and try to represent it. And for me, what I find on this record is this weird shape, beautiful shape.
Yeah.
At times, like I mentioned before, the humanizing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just to ask you something and not just be a loosey comment. Um, sorry. Are you aware sometimes as to how far to take it, the experimentation, and if you do realize, okay, this is too far, let's take a U-turn, or
Yeah.
perhaps these moments are like the excitement of this moment, like I wanted to get here to this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like you take and the next step, or you go back.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. We never know where it's gonna go until we got there.
Mm,
And then only then do we like again, like the intuition thing that you talked about, that we rely on heavily, is at least for me anyway, because again, we don't say no.
mm-hmm,
We try things out. Um, I yeah, there's like we know we have it always comes down to like the bare bones of an idea, of a concept, and we're like we go from there. Like for this album, let's make a quiet record. This is what came out of it. It's not quiet at all. Um, but um, but because we had this concept to begin with, this goal, knowing full well it might not actually, we don't restrict ourselves, is
mm,
what it is. Because it's like if we really wanted to do a quiet record, it would sound quiet. But
right.
right, and uh, our version of a quiet record are chord changes and melodies, like actual melodies, not melodies that I am trying to find through one chord, which is really hard to make something interesting. Like you can do a lot of things, but like to really, and not to repeat yourself too, because we also don't want to repeat ourselves because we just don't work that way, and we make an effort to just keep pushing ourselves too. So because we don't restrict ourselves to the concept, it allows um, for us to go anywhere. But if we go to a place that doesn't feel right, we usually scrap it, go back, and then take what did work and go forward and push through the stuff that didn't work. Does that make sense?
If I understand correctly, perhaps that is the importance of the process of this album, like unfinished songs
Uh-huh.
on the studio, so you didn't have to discard the song entirely. You
Yeah.
can reshape it
Yeah.
as on the go.
I actually think this is one of the maybe not with Nature Morte, I don't quite know, but I think even with Nature Morte too, we kept everything that we worked on.
Mm,
All of the other records were like we wrote, we went where it was going to go. We had this like we were intuitively trying to find what like Big Brave sound was like its own beast kind of thing, and we're like where is it going? And now we're like, oh wait a minute, we don't have to think about that, we can think about where we want to go.
right. Yeah,
But that's
definitely.
what the collab with the body did to us. We're like, oh right, we can
I,
do.
I remember that you mentioned that the new record, well, this record was the result of the things that you learned with working with the body.
Yes, exactly.
about the process.
Yeah.
Have you listened to the new collaboration of the body with this fig?
Um, I've not yet because I'm savoring it for when I go on tour.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so like to be like actually because it's hours and hours and hours in a van, and there's nothing to do. So I'm gonna wait for so I can
It's
actually like
it's beautifully apocalyptic, and this fig or Felice Shen, I
yeah.
reminded me at points of your voice, and
Oh,
at parts of your collaboration with them, with the
uh-huh.
body. And this is my conspiration, my conspiracy.
Mhm.
Perhaps they decided to work with her because of the similarities of the voice.
Oh,
Perhaps, maybe. I don't
cool.
know. I don't
That
know.
would be cool. I inspired them. Wow.
Yes.
Imagine.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. Yeah.
would be cool.
There are some similarities. Maybe you can't judge that because it's your voice,
Yeah,
but
it's hard to know. It's hard to know. I don't know what I really sound like. I have an idea, but I when I if I have to listen back because of mixes and stuff like this, or if I accidentally hear a live video, I'm like, oh shit. Um, I'm used to my voice now, but I still don't. Of course, we don't have perspective of like what we sound like or look like.
I don't like to hear my voice recordings on audio. I don't like my voice.
Oh God. Well, if it's any consolation, you have a nice voice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
See? Well,
Nice
when
to
I
know
first,
that.
yes, like when we first started recording music and I listened to myself sing or even talk, um, I would I remember just like looking around at like Metsier and whoever we were playing music with, and I'm like, you have to listen to this. Like this is terrible. I sing very differently now because I'm actually using my voice properly, but or really just experimenting. Um, but it always sounds different for you for sure.
Well, this record is astonishing. Uh, but I discovered that I have a crush on your voice. Like, okay, yeah, yeah. There's no debate about it. I like what she does,
Oh my God, thank you
honestly.
so
Uh,
much.
uh, and,
That's
and
such a
this
huge compliment. Thank
and
you.
this record for me is like your sumac album, perhaps about the process also.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm waiting to hear to hear the next record. I know that they announced a new album.
Yes, I'm very excited to hear too.
Uh,
Um we asked Aaron Turner if he wanted to add guitar stuff. But because everybody is leading very busy, sometimes very difficult, sometimes very good, busy lives. But because of life, he was just like, I don't have the time. It almost worked out, but we almost got him.
Perhaps in the future in the next album. Are
There's
you thinking about the next album,
we
or you're taking a break?
actually we don't have to think about the next album because it's already recorded. Oh no.
I
We
mean,
recorded
it,
it um um last fall, like right after we
wow.
finished all the tours. Yeah.
Actually, a question from my friend Lucy on the
Yeah.
blog. She I asked them two questions,
Yes.
and she is curious if the series of Night of Mouth, The Case of Flowers, is continuing on the next work or is
Oh,
a departure of that.
that's a good question. This like the new record, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, the
Um,
one.
completely different. Like
Mm,
so different that it's the same feeling that I have when we did the collab with the body. As we were doing it, um, like on our social media, we had before we even announced any collaboration at all. We would just like we took like photos together at the recording studio, and then people were like, "Oh my god, this is going to be the heaviest album in the world." And I was like, "Oh no, they're going to hate." They're gonna hate this because it's not that at all. Um, but people ended up loving it so much. I still can't believe it. So I have the same feelings about this. I'm very proud of it. Like, it's very cool for so many reasons. Metzger made an instrument from scratch. He took old piano strings, and it looks like nothing you've ever seen before. It's actually like a gorgeous piece of art, in of itself. And we use this instrument on, we all play it at some point in the whole album. Um, and I really get to experiment with my voice, like really experiment, in a way that might not be fun for a lot of people, but it was very fun for me. Um,
Okay,
at least also for the band and for Seth. And um, we're very excited, but I think,
you sound very confident about the product of that record.
I mean, this is one of like, in terms of experimental music, it's one of the things I've always wanted to do. I've
Wow.
always wanted to try.
And
Always.
so this was like the intention that was always there, but the band or you didn't
Well,
you weren't courageous enough. Sorry, I don't know the
no,
pronunciation.
no, you're no, yeah, makes sense. No, what ended up happening was we had booked time with Seth Manchester, um, and the Body to do a second collab record. But
Okay.
but again, because of life stuff, and the Body wasn't able to make it, but we kept our time with Seth because it was also like a fun excuse to hang out with him and his family. And we're just like, you know what? Let's just figure it out when we get there. That's how free we are now. Like,
Wow.
we written nothing. We wrote it all, um, as we were recording. Someone would start on an instrument, and it's like very deconstructed instrumentation, sounding. Um, so,
Sold. you know,
and then we would layer on top or take away, but it was all written live.
like in a sense, the band you can can do any other um type of process because otherwise you would be betraying the the outcome or the evolution or the I don't know the growth of you
Yeah,
as an artist, right?
you're not wrong, because like, I think that's right, but only if we get to keep recording with Seth, Big Brave and Seth,
Mm,
because now, after the first album that we recorded with him, which was A Gaze Among Them, we had written everything start to finish. It was like perfectly done. We entered, he recorded, and we both, the band and him, we both found, um, kinship and the same kind of interest in not just experimentation, but um, life stuff as well. And immediately we're just like, we have to record again with him, and he's like, you have to record again with me. And it we couldn't not record him with him anymore, because he thinks the way we do, and I personally really love his work ethic. He still loves music to the point that he still actively listens to music.
mm.
um he's like, oh, did you listen to, and like stuff that isn't cool, or like whatever. He's like an encyclopedia, like Natsir. Like, they both are encyclopedias.
Like they compete to each other. Oh, did you
Oh,
watch
they're
this?
like,
Oh
"Oh, have you
yeah.
heard this? Yes, it reminds me of this," and it's really, but yeah. And then the work ethic and how we experiment, and especially because of the many years we've been working together, on top of being friends, like close friends. Um, we have uh, a language that doesn't even need to be explained anymore. So
Mm.
we understand what's going to happen and how we're going to. The only thing we ever really talk about is like, what if we try this? Being or I really like this. I really don't like this. Why? Well, because of this. I like this because of, like just to really, and we push ourselves each other in a good way, because ultimately we make good work together. I don't think we would I wouldn't be able to do it with anyone else and this band. Like
Mm.
because I have such trust in all of them, in Seth, Tussie, and That's here. Um, it wouldn't be the same, and I think that that's why.
Well, now that you're explaining this, I think this is also a crucial part of the work that you guys achieved,
Hmm.
because it's very special, and
Hmm.
and I'm truly mean it. It's special, not in a commercial
Yeah,
formulaic type of way. You
right.
know, it's for the listener to want to receive something special, and
Oh,
you
thank you.
have you have to be also, you have to have some sort of uh, how to say it. Uh, you are this requires for you to receive the pain, the of the process. You have to earn the your right to like this music or this sort. You know, you have to experience the pain
Yeah,
throughout.
it's interesting because throughout our entire all of our albums, everyone always says like it's very similar to what you're saying. I have to listen more than once. I
Yeah.
have to really actively work at listening in order to understand and appreciate. And that's why I always tell people like if you really want to get a sense of the music, just come see us live, because um it's, as much as the recordings are great, since I mean they all are good, but specifically, especially because I love Seth, but like um because of Seth as well. I do feel like we our studio, our albums, our recorded work is so much better now, but I do think our live set.
It's a very complex articulation of volume, gain, effects that I can imagine that it's not for anyone to
Mm-mm.
mess with these live shows.
Oh, I know. Every time I meet someone new and they're like, "Oh," and they find out I'm in a band and I play music, and they're like, "Oh, what kind of music?" And I'm like,
You don't want to know.
and if you do, it's like, it's not for everyone. Don't worry. You don't have to like it. I get it. It's okay. Even my mom, she's just like, even though I don't like it's not my music, I understand it. And I'm like, it's the best. It's the best thing you could hope for. But yeah.
Artistically, the band or you were unsure or confident enough about the outcome of this record when you guys did it, or like
No. I mean, Seth is always confident. Seth is like, this is a great record. Um, I am always like, is it? Is it okay? Are people gonna like it? Tussie's like, yeah. But then also doesn't really think about it because she has other projects and stuff like this. But I think Metzger and I are always like, oh no. Are I mean, like we worry. We're also just stressed out people in general. And so and because we put so much heart, and so much hard work, like so much hard work. Um, it's not all fun and games. It's like, sometimes it's it gets hard. We're people. It's normal.
yeah.
Um, but so after all of this hard work, we do worry. naturally, that like as long as like the key people like it, like Bettina at Thrill Jockey, her label, if she likes it, then I'm like, great, fine, cool. The rest is, it doesn't matter. But if Seth likes it, then I'm like, it's so reassuring. But even Natsir and I, Natsir will come to me being like, "It's okay, right? It's okay record. It's an okay record." And then I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. I'm sure it's okay." And then sometimes I don't often listen back, but when someone I respect is like that was comes up with really interesting things to say about the record or a song, I I I wanna know what they're talking about, so I might listen back and being like, "Is that what they mean? I don't get it. I think it's okay. Okay, no, it's probably okay." And then I go back to Matsu and I'm like, "I think it's actually okay." Anyway.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Uh, so Thrill Jockey is on a ride this year. The body.
Sorry.
Thrill Jockey is on a ride this year with the releases. The
Yes.
body,
Yes.
Big Braves, Mac,
Yes.
um, another folk experimental artist. I'm receiving huge amount of news from the label this year.
Yeah. No, fuck. Alfonso, um, the other week at practice, Matsir, Tessie, and I, um, we were joking around in between whatever we were doing, and um, it was really funny because I forget the content, like I forget what we said, but we just had a moment where it's not that we forget we're on Thrill Jockey, we know we're on Thrill Jockey, but um, we when we really like we still can't believe it. Like we still can't believe it. Um, um, like talk about a dream come true. I'm not kidding. Like talk about a dream. I never thought
Wow.
in my life. I couldn't believe it when she was just like, "Yes, let's do stuff together." And every record we do, she's like, "Yes, yes." I'm like,
Give me more. Give me
I
more.
know. It's
So I
crazy.
mean, you're releasing like the next record will be the fourth release in a row, like every year, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's,
Oh shit.
it's
Whoa.
not for every band, you know.
No, no. We almost were gonna release the not a chaos flowers, but the one that we were just isn't
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one I was talking about. We it was gonna be released in the fall, but like you said, Phil Jockey has like all of these like amazing things coming out. Bettina was just like, yeah, so early next year, and we're like, honestly, it could be in 20 years. I don't care. You want to release it. We're just like, yeah, cool. But yeah, yeah, it
Well,
was.
I can wait. The fact that you and the band are very confident about the next album and the things that you are describing.
I mean, I think it's really cool. I think we think it's cool. We think it's fun and it's really exciting, but it doesn't mean it is. Just because we think it is, it doesn't mean that like other people are gonna understand or
Well, I have only 1 year for imagination to go wild, you know,
oh
during the
yeah.
next album. I mean, yes, whatever the outcome is, I will be there listening, and hopefully we can talk third
Yes.
vacation.
Oh my god. Oh, yes. I would love to talk to you about it because it's I mean, Metzger made an instrument. He made
What?
an instrument. Yeah, like it doesn't exist. It's like one of a kind instrument that doesn't look like anything you've ever seen before. It's
Mm.
so cool and it sounds so cool. And depending on what you do with it too, that's pretty cool. I mean, that in of itself is really fun. But yeah.
Can't wait. Can't wait.